Welcome to Make You Remarkable, brought to you by Oconee State Bank, the podcast that's all about unleashing your inner leader and making an impact on your community. Get ready for a wild ride of inspiration, education, and a whole lot of fun. Each week, we sit down with local legends, business owners, and influential minds to talk about their journey, their impact, and the secrets behind their incredible success. This is not your ordinary bank podcast. We're here to bring the energy, the laughs, and the aha moments that'll leave you itching to conquer the world. Now get ready to make your remarkable with your host, JT Tomlin.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Make You Remarkable. I'm your host, JT Tomlin, and today I'm joined with Brian Peart, who is the owner of Commercial Capital Limited. Oh my gosh, I was going to say it wrong. Commercial Capital Limited, and the founder of the Nexus Financial Group.
Yep.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
So Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are.
So I started in this business in the 90s in residential mortgages. I'm a commercial mortgage broker and a private money lender. And we started in residential, then we got into commercial around 2000. And by 2007, we were nationwide with a lot of branches in the commercial division. And
Wow.
and then 08 hit and it just took it all out. And I had to kind of recalibrate. And so I went back to just being a commercial loan officer and built it up to today, and probably the top commercial broker in the country. And
Wow.
and that's just what I'm doing now. It's,
What got you into
feeding
that?
my family.
Yeah, for real. 'Cause you have a big family. You have six kids, right?
6 kids, yeah.
Yeah,
6
feeding your
kids.
family is a big task.
That's why I'm working, man. Why I'm working. That's right.
So what got you into your industry?
I fell into it. I started a business. I graduated college at Florida State. Then I started a business. It failed, and I had to go back to just, again, feeding the family. So I went back to waiting tables, and I was waiting tables on the owner of a mortgage company. He said, "You'd be great at that." And I'm like, "Can I wear a suit?" I felt like such a loser going, and there's nothing wrong with being a waiter. That's how I put myself through college. But once you graduate college, you don't want to go back there, and so I didn't feel great about where my life was at that point. And I just wanted to be in a place where I could be in a professional situation, and I just there's something about the way I handle business. It worked really well. I did good almost from the beginning.
I love that your question was, can I wear a suit? Mine's always, do I have to wear a suit?
Oh yeah. Well, now the style's changed, and you can wear like a t-shirt and and I love that now.
It's like casual, like business casual is my favorite
I
thing.
rarely wear a suit now.
Right.
But back then I was like, anything.
Dang, I have to wear a tie? Not just a t-shirt.
Anything but waiting tables.
Well, tell me a little bit more about your companies. Which one did you start first, Nexus Financial or Commercial Capital?
We were and still are Nexus Financial Group. I registered Nexus as a trademark. I love the name. I thought it was great. Nexus Interconnecting Group and Links. I had all this vision and everything for a nationwide thing. And so I registered it as a trademark. Well, LexisNexis bought me in the trademark court's over, and we finally came to an agreement where they'd let me have the mark. But if I ever did commercial loans, I had to do it under a different name.
Wow.
So we do Commercial Capital because I can't do commercial loans in Nexus's name.
That's fun.
That's
You're
crazy.
just like, wow, I had this big plan and I have to change it.
Yeah.
But Commercial Capital is great. I also love the logo. I think it's super
Thank
fun.
you. The duck.
There's
a story behind that too.
Oh, well, tell us the story. What's the story about the duck?
So when I started the division, I was a CEO at that point. After we launched a second location here in Georgia, and then we launched the commercial division, I didn't originate loans. I hired a commercial underwriter and a commercial broker to kind of work the deals. And one day he just came in with all these ducks, those mallard type ducks.
Like live ducks?
No.
The wooden ones?
Yeah, but good sized wooden ones, right?
Yeah.
You put them on everyone's desk. And when we started actually beginning to do loans, we had to come up with a name and a logo and all that other stuff. And I don't know, just the mallard duck is kind of like an upscale kind of duck hunting.
Yeah.
It's kind of more than deer hunting.
Like
it's kind of upscale
brand,
and more of a gentleman's brand. So So I thought, well, let's do that. So there's no magic to it. It was on and we still have one of those ducks over at the office, just there. So
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a
the
duck.
mallard duck. Well, tell us a little bit more about your companies. Like, what is the mission, the vision? Like, what do y'all value?
Well, when I started, I had all the the mission and vision statements and all those other things. But I mean, honestly, now it's a small company, right? And although I do a lot of volume, it's just me and an assistant, and it's my son works with me, and it's just a small company. So honestly, now it's more just about my walk, my relationship with Jesus, and just I'm a representative in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And I have to love on people. I have to, obey him and just, do my best. And so it's really just about representing him in the marketplace. It's not a grandiose mission vision. I'm not trying to go there anymore. In fact, God's telling me I need to stop trying to drive and just allow peace for a little while. And so that's what I'm trying to do. It's real hard, actually. So,
I mean, what better mission statement than to live like Jesus and be like Jesus in the workforce?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Great commission.
What does it mean to you to create a remarkable experience?
I saw that question. Nah, it's. I'm probably not going to answer it the way you guys want me to answer it. But
hey, it's all up to your discretion.
I know. The place I fit in the industry is I'm the place to go when the banks say no. I get deals when they've tried other places and they've failed. It may not be it. They're usually good deals. They just were with the wrong bank. Some banks are a bank's not going to advertise we're no longer doing loans because we've hit our limits on our whatever. They're not going to advertise that.
Right.
The person won't know. They're still going to take in the loans. They just deny them. But a lot of times they just went to the wrong bank. Well, I know all the banks and the non-bank lenders, and so I just get the loans to the closing table. I do offer, I think, better service because I will return calls and I do give approvals within a day, so I deliver a little bit quicker service maybe, but really it's just I know my place in the marketplace and I do it. And so I just close loans, and the more loans I close, people talk about it and the business grows. So
how do you create remarkable experiences for your team?
It's a small team.
you're 2 people.
So Zach, that's my son, and there's a totally different dynamic with him, and with my assistant Mary. She's been with me 16 years.
Wow.
What Mary needs is when she first comes in, she has to tell about whatever from the day before and about whatever struggles with her husband. I have to give her the 5 or 10 minutes for her to just share about her stuff. So when she comes in, I stop what I'm doing and I just let her tell her things so that she gets all her, what God showed her in her Bible study or whatever the case may be. She just needs that time. And then after that, she's good, so I just give her that time. You just try to give them what they need, and, sometimes her husband's in failing health, so sometimes she's a little overwhelmed. So you hug her sometimes if she, needs that, let her cry. I don't know. I think it's real life.
I think there's a lot of power in that. It's like understanding the needs of your team and being able to provide those needs, whether it just be a hug or just listening ear.
Yeah.
Very
It took me a
helpful.
while though to learn that. I used to be really self-absorbed, so although she needed it, I didn't sense it. You know what I mean? It took me a while before I woke up to the fact that, hey, she's really got a need here,
What helped
for
you
this
see
place.
that?
Like during COVID, my employees didn't want to stay home. They wanted to come to work. They couldn't. So I went to the mayor of Loganville, and since I do 7A loans and SBA was, rolling out EIDLs and stuff, he approved me to stay open during remember that 6 weeks when everything was supposed to
everything
close
was
except
shut
for
down.
essential? He approved me to be essential.
Thanks. You got the badge of essential.
Yeah, for 6 weeks until they did it. But my
It's still
people loved
6
it because
weeks.
they came in. They got to come in, and they just would rather be in the office than at home.
That's awesome. It's crazy that you got the badge of essential. That's funny to me because even in COVID, I think I remember seeing something where tattoo parlors were badged as essential or something. It's
well, it's possible I contributed to the mayor's election campaign, so it's possible I had some
you're
sway.
"Can you please.
Please, man, this makes sense. He goes, yeah, that makes sense to me, Brian. So yeah, it was good.
We're gonna stay on good terms.
Mhm.
Oh man. So what does it mean to you to be a good leader?
I think, you be yourself. I used to read lots of leadership books, lots of success books, all those other things. And I don't try to necessarily. I'm past that phase where I try to be a leader in any situation. I just show up. I'm present in the present. I stay there, and for some reason, I end up being asked into leadership. So like the condo board at the association, or just I always end up in a leadership role.
Yeah.
I don't seek it. It just ends up that way. I go to a church and I meet the pastor. I talk to him, and he asked me to head a Bible study. I don't seek it. He tells me. So I think I've just learned to. I don't know, man. I think it's one of the spiritual gifts is leadership, and maybe that's a gift God gave me. But you got to care about people. You put them above yourselves. It goes back to that Christian basic thing of love other people.
Yeah.
And somehow they end up putting me in those positions. I don't try to take them.
I think you
just
said it
get
best,
asked.
talking about that leadership is a gift of the Lord. I mean, God's clearly made you a leader. You're talking about having just leadership positions falling in your lap. I mean, that's definitely the Lord being like,
I'm
hey.
on like 4 boards, 5 boards of charities, and you have to say no to some of them because they're just looking for. But some of them are really legit,
Yeah.
ministries that need guidance. So
And there's just so much power there in being able to provide that. What is the best tip that you've learned when you've been leading different boards? Like across all of the different boards or different projects you've been involved in, what is the best like leadership, maybe not tip, but like lesson you've learned?
pray first. You got to pray before those meetings, especially if it's a ministry board or something like that. You got to lift it up in prayer. Stay humble. Put the egos away. Okay. Some people are puffed up because they're on a board or something, and they want to prove their importance. And it's not about that. It's about helping this ministry set the parameters that they need to do,
Right.
bring that business acumen into the situation, because a lot of ministries don't know how to even run. It's still a business. You still have to have inflows and outflows, and even though it's a nonprofit, it's still a business, and it does have to stay afloat. And so just humility would go a long way on a lot of those boards. You don't see it often, but that's what it really needs. Yeah.
When we're talking about lessons that you've learned and like tips and tricks you've had, we were talking earlier about the books that you've written. You said you've written 2 books and had 1 audiobook.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about those. What led you to write them, and what were some lessons you learned in doing that?
It's kind of fun, the first one. So I was my walk has been just a very real experience for me, and so early on in my walk, I was driving and listened to a radio broadcast. Something was stirring in my heart, and then I listened to a radio broadcast, and it just dawned on me what needed to be written about, And so I was down in Florida at the time. I just went to the beach, took out a notepad, and I just wrote the book in a day.
Wow.
Now it's not a big book. It's probably 40 pages, but maybe 20. 20 on real, but we expanded it. It's double lines.
Like size 15 font. Double
right, bigger. But it I wrote in a day, and it was just about people being honest in the ministry, and the podcast that not the podcast. This is back way before podcasts. This was back just a radio show, and the people were talking about how it was prisoners who had got out of prison, and they were talking about how they felt more at home, more genuineness, more connection to people, and more real in the prison than they did in churches. And
Really?
And it was called Being Real. That was the book, and it was about just being honest. We're not perfect, and back then, now you see churches doing no perfect people allowed and things like that, and it's a cute thing, but it's real. I mean, it's not a bunch of perfect people in those churches, but there's always this pressure. There's often this pressure to act as if you've got it all together because Jesus is blessing you, right? And it's just a farce. So I wrote about that, and then the next one was after my divorce to a woman that I really loved, and it was called Perfect Love, and it came out of Perfect Love casts out fear from 1 John 4:17, and so I wrote that book, and it was about how to handle that kind of heartbreak and then grow through it and get back to a place of healing and health. And then the last one was an audiobook because no one reads books anymore.
Right.
You know, I'm in Bible studies at church and you know, there's books we have to read and I'm the only guy still reading a book and they're all listening to it on audiobook. And I'm like, what am I even doing with this thing? So I started a podcast a year and a half ago and I did a series on the 5 pillars of a great life. And then we combined it together and put it into an audiobook. And so that's the third one. And that was just a year ago that came out, maybe.
Well, tell me a little bit more about your podcast. What's your podcast called?
The Great Awareness.
The Great Awareness.
And it's taking the spiritual, here we go, I'm political now. So people look at the things that are happening around them and they don't look at them with spiritual eyes, okay? It's not right or left. It's not Democrat or Republican, really. Just look at the actions of people through the lens of Scripture and what is that actually saying, you know? And it's, once you start doing that, it's just being aware of what's actually happening around us, not from a conspiracy theorist, right? Or a left liberal link, just, all right, they're doing this, and they're doing this, and what does that mean about them? If they're doing this, that means they are X, you know, and it's just looking at it and then proclaiming that truth and not being afraid to speak that truth, and so it's a lot of different topics. It's just real world topics, really. I haven't done one now in a few months, but because I'm in a period where God wants me to rest. But there's some good stuff in there, you know. I think it's worth listening to.
I think that's a powerful thing is to kind of take what the Lord is bringing to you and just be able to understand and speak on what He's been telling you.
That's generally, every book I've written was something that I felt led to write. It wasn't something I sat there and said, oh, I want to write a book about love. Or I want to write a book about being real. It's just, I got moved, I started writing, and, you know, eventually got it published.
And are y'all on all podcast platforms? You're on social media?
Yeah, it should be on all of them.
Go ahead and shamelessly plug yourself. Where would someone find you guys?
Well, we're on all the podcast things, but it's The Great Awareness is the podcast by Brian Peart. And actually I have a website, thegreatawareness.net, and all of them are on there too. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So kind of moving away from the podcast, who is the most influential person in your life? Was or is?
Well, Jesus, of course. But my grandfather, man, grandfather came over through Ellis Island and from Germany, and he couldn't even speak the language. And he built the second largest tool and die company in the country. And he was just kind of a hero to me. My dad wasn't so much, and you know, that's all I got to say about that. But but my grandfather was someone that I just looked up to, and he just seemed larger than life. And he took the time. We'd play chess, and he would he always smoked cigars, and you know, now I find myself, you know, wanting to smoke a cigar when things go good or whatever. It's just like
a celebration.
It just feels like you're, you know, a cigar and a scotch, and you just feel like you're, you know, an aristocrat in the world, or you just, it brings me back to learning from my grandfather, you know, and it's just a neat feel. So I can do that all by myself. I don't need anyone around, and just be completely content. So,
what was the biggest lesson you think you learned from him?
From him? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really know that I can quantitatively say there's a lesson per se, because it wasn't like it was sitting there teaching me lessons, you know, like saying, Brian, do this, you know, but just it's that general vibe that you can open a thing, you can build a large thing, you can be, you know, whatever you really set yourself out to be. I mean, man, when we got out of high school in the 80s, it you know, which is a while ago, you probably weren't even born, but
nope.
See how old I am, but everything seemed just wide open, man. There wasn't the stuff the kids are coming out with today and they're dealing with today. It's bad, and my kids deal with it, and you know, we're navigating through it. But I look at it, and it's a totally different thing. I mean, our president got shot, and he lived, and he's like, I mean, everything just seemed larger than life. Like there was nothing stopping America, and it just doesn't. It's just not that way anymore.
It's just a different feeling now.
Oh, yeah.
So how has being a father of 6 motivated you in your career?
You just have to work, man. You have to work.
Other
You got to feed.
other than like, I have to feed my family.
You got to feed your family, you know. I didn't necessarily just, you know, when I was in school, I thought I was going to be a hotel restaurant manager. That's what I went to college for. Yeah, that's what I went to college for. And when I came out, that's what I was doing. And then I started my own gig, and the wheels came off. But I didn't plan to come into this business. So it's just more of a my time in 2009 through 2012 was the worst time of my life. My wife left the 4 kids with me. At the time, I had 4 kids. And so just doing that, my business was in the toilet. You know, I went from being a successful Christian businessman, you know, married Christian businessman, to being a divorced, broke, you know, barely making ends meet dude, trying to keep 4 kids together, and it was a really rough time, and it was a time that God used to grow me. So we grow in our valleys. We don't grow on the mountaintops. We grow in the valleys. And so people are afraid of the valleys, and I'm not. I have zero fear of war or really almost anything. You know, even speaking live, it's just all things work for good for those who love the Lord. And so eventually good comes from it, even if it's really a bad thing. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. The time I went through, it was really bad. I mean, American Express is brutal when you owe them money. And it was a tough time. And so, but I wouldn't trade it now for anything, because it helped make me who I am, you know, and it's a blessing. So, for my kids, it's more just, this is how I feed the family, and it allows me the ability to go to their ball games, go to the things that are important to them, and then really, but I keep them almost separate. The work has nothing to do with my kids, other than I've made them all work for me for some amount of time, just to teach them different things and stuff.
Work has nothing to do with it, but I employ them sometimes.
Yeah, and one of them does work with me now full time, but like I always would make them work just so they can get some money and learn. You know, they've been either receptionists or whatever. You know, I've brought my kids up to the 1818 club, my 14-year-olds, and had them shaking hands and just networking. You know, and then you know they were scared to death, and I made them do it, and just fun stuff like that. You know, fun for me, not for them. I loved it.
It's so helpful. I mean, my dad did that to me when I was a kid, and I remember the absolute fear in my eyes, and just fear that I felt going into some of those rooms, be like, I have no clue who these people are, and I don't know how comfortable I am. But the ability to be able to network, and the ability to be able to connect with people who aren't necessarily the same age or in the same walk of life that you're in, whether that be someone in a business room or someone on the street, you're able to connect with them. It's such a powerful skill to have.
Yeah.
That's such a
and not all of them will get it, but I mean, it's still, it's neat for them to do it. Even if it's not their thing, still they get to do it. You know, one of them might end up being in research rather than in sales.
One of them might be like, I had enough. I'm gone.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Oh my goodness. Well, tell me some things, or tell our listeners some things that people would not know about your industry. What's it like? And what are some of the hidden secrets, or maybe hidden secrets? Well, yeah, secrets of the industry.
Well, you know, people always assume if they've got their own business that the bank that banks with them would want to do their loan. And what they have to understand is that in the banking world, there's a credit committee, and then there's the salespeople in the front end, and they're not the same. And credit committee has a different thing that they're looking at, and you may be in a field where they have too much concentration, and they just can't do any more of those loans. And so they get denied. And so they get bummed out that they get denied. And then they go and they get depressed, and then maybe they give up on their dreams. And a lot of times they're just with the wrong bank.
Person,
not necessarily the bank's a bad bank. It's just, it's not going to get them the loan they need.
Yeah.
You know, one thing with me is most of the loans I do, I don't require a depository relationship. So a bank can refer a deal to me. I can get the loan done. If they don't want to do the loan, I can get the loan done, and I'm not going to take those deposits. You know, I'm just going to get them closed, you know, because I have non-bank lenders that I use. But so I think it would surprise people if they used someone like myself to price out a deal, because I know who's the lowest priced person in the market right now. I know and I know why you may or may not get approved with that bank because I know their credit criterion. And so you can save yourself a lot of pain by getting a pre-qualification with me that doesn't cost anything. I just can crunch the numbers and I can read the returns really good. I can just help
do
them.
it.
Yeah, just do it. Help them. And that can save them all sorts of time and a lot of stress and pain because if your business makes money, I can probably get you a loan, as long as you're reasonable about what you're wanting.
Yeah.
If you make $20,000 a year, I'm not getting you $1 million, loan. It's just not going to happen.
It's not possible,
it's got to be reasonable, but still. Yeah.
Well, moving on. So what's next for you? What's the next moves in your company and in your industry?
So again, it all flows from my relationship. Right now, what I feel in my morning quiet time is that God wants me in a period of rest right now. And actually, as I was driving over here thinking about the answer to that question, and trying to explain it, it hit me. In 1 Kings, Elijah was told to go to the brook Cherith and to wait there, and I was going to describe that. I'm like, oh, I need to read that tomorrow and see what lesson is in there. So that's now my tomorrow Bible study. But I'm in a period of resting. I think God's going to do something in me. He's preparing me for, and I don't know what it is, and I don't have to know what it is. I'm just supposed to rest, and it's really hard to not. So my whole life, I've always been success books and constant and never ending improvement and Think and Grow Rich and all these other books, and always been driving to succeed, to be the best at, husband, dad, all the different roles, to always be fixing, the thing wrong and to an almost psychotic level. And
like micromanaging.
Now, not really, just always driven, very driven in my mind, not being able to just shut the mind down, but be thinking, I could do this and build more business that way. And, and he just wants me to rest right now. And it is really hard when you've spent a whole lifetime with these habits of driving to just not drive to something because you see something wrong and you almost want to jump in and do something. And that's not the time I'm in right now. I have to just be still and know that he is God. And I'm not good at it. And so I'm trying to obey. And so right now, I don't know what the next phase is. This is my job. This is how I do it. I'm sure he wants me in here because I am in here. Otherwise, I'd be elsewhere. And I've risen to a place where I'm in a sphere of influence, and I give 50% of my income, my profits to ministries and charities. So, so when I do well, then I'm able to make more of an impact, and I've been doing well of late. So I mean, I'm sure he wants me here, but he doesn't want me thinking about how to build it quicker, faster, better, higher. He just wants me to wait for him to tell me what the next thing is. So the answer to your question is, I don't know. I'm going to do something. Whatever he tells me to do is what I'm going to do. So I don't know yet.
You get 50% of your income?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, of the net, of the profit. Yeah. What I get to keep. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What led you to make that move?
Yeah.
Obviously the Lord, but
so again, all these success books I read, one of the big authors I got into back when I was a young man was Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world, the greatest success in the world. A lot of really good success kind of books, and they were all written in stories, kind of wrapped around like the Babylonian times or whatever the case may be, kind of like the richest man in Babylon, right? That's kind of whole vibe. And he one of the success guys in that, gave 50% away. And I don't know, I got moved when I read it, and I'm like, you know what? I want to do that too. And so that was like 30, maybe 40 years ago. And so now there are many times where there was no money left over to give, They're like there's nothing, for long stretches. But yeah, I've been doing that pretty consistently. So
that's impressive. It's a really powerful thing. And just an honest thing to hear. It's really moving to hear how you've answered God's call. That's really cool.
Well, yeah, I don't think of it like that, but yeah, thanks.
No problem. Well, kind of moving on to our final questions, and as we're wrapping up, what does the word remarkable mean to you?
So what I think of when I hear remarkable is the Little Rascals, okay? We're talking the 1940s Little Rascals, not the movies that they've done. There was
That was
this
not
one,
what I was expecting.
I know. There was this one episode where the one boy was playing with marbles, and he was like, "It's remarkable," and he just kept saying it, and that phrase has stuck in my mind with him saying it just that way ever since I was a kid. It means nothing to me. It's just I remember it, like I just remember movie quotes, right?
So this is make you remarkable.
Remarkable. And I'm like, all right,
That's so great.
It has no meaning whatsoever other than that's what
That's
I remember.
the first thought. That's so awesome.
Isn't that messed up?
No,
Stuff
it's perfect.
we think about,
I have so
crazy.
many, I can't think of them now, but I have so many of those like random words that have just been ruined by like social media or TikTok or like a movie where they just misused the word, and all of a sudden now the only way I can think about it is that way.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how you are with remarkable. Well, kind of along the same lines, when you heard the words make you remarkable, which is obviously the name of our podcast, what did that mean to you, and how do you make you remarkable?
You're not going to like my answer to this one. I didn't give it any.
Preface.
I didn't give it any thought. You sent me the thing. I knew I was doing a podcast. I didn't even really pay attention to the name of the podcast. I just knew I had it because I've been so busy.
Uh-huh.
And but how do I make my remarkable? I just try to stay present in the present. I just try to obey and I just try to love on people. It's it's really not rocket science. I think this world tries to get everyone, and it's the devil, tries to get everyone hurried and harried and trying to drive and this and this and this. And man, it's not that hard, and it wasn't originally meant to be that hard. And, everyone just needs to chill a little bit. And,
well, that's such a great way to say it. Just everyone needs to chill.
Just chill out. Can't we all get along, like that country song? So
what does it mean to you for someone to make their remarkable? What does that phrase mean to you?
Man, you are pushing this phrase. I mean, I don't know. I recognize when people are going above and beyond. I love to see it. I love to see in any form, whether it's a clerk or a cashier or a waiter or anybody, when they're exceptional at what they do or they do it. I love to see it. You know what I mean? Try to affirm them, and just try to build them up, because so many people are so wrapped up, even when they see something remarkable, they may not often notice it or appreciate it or whatever the case may be. But if you're present in the present, then you can see things for as they are and say, wow, that's really cool. Like these bricks back here, that's kind of cool, It's fake bricks, Oh, should I have said that?
No, it's even better.
Oh, okay.
It's so much funner. Now I'm just gonna get all these comments where it's like, that's fake?
That's fake bricks, man.
Yeah, these are
like
styrofoam.
fake
bricks made of styrofoam.
It's cool.
You want to know? Just text me.
It's cool. It is cool. All right.
All right. So now we're going to move on to our lightning round of questions,
Okay.
all the fun questions. We are now entering the lightning round.
The lightning
I need
round.
like graphics, like all like the cool lightning and all the fun. Share a personal or business best.
Well, business is easier. One of the things that's amazing to me over the years is that my company, we started in residential and we funded over $1 billion of residential volume, but we've been commercial since 2009, and we've also funded over $1 billion of commercial. Wells Fargo and Chase and those banks have done that, but as a brokerage shop, I don't know if anyone's been able to say they've funded $1 billion of residential loans and $1 billion of commercial loans.
Yeah.
You either do one or the other, or you dabble with one of them, but very few people have just mastered,
That's impressive.
both. Yeah. So that would be the biggest thing there.
What is the most recent show or movie that you've binge watched?
I don't binge watch.
You don't
man.
binge watch
I
or
don't,
are
I don't
currently
watch.
streaming?
I don't stream. I don't binge watch. I'm so old school. I'm so busy. And then when I get home, If anything, I might throw on the Braves as I'm laying in bed, just go to sleep. If the Braves are on, I might watch them. That's about it. Saturday, I watch college football.
Who you rooting for?
Love college football. Well, Florida State, my alma mater.
Oh.
We're going to win the national championship this year. And then I love Georgia. They're my second.
That's good.
They're my second favorite team. Yeah. You had Mark Richt. We both, Florida State and Georgia, both hate the Gators. It's a natural to like Georgia if you're Florida State and vice versa, in my opinion. But so I love both those teams. I lived in Tennessee for a year. I even like the Tennessee Volunteers. I know it's a Georgia guy liking, Volunteers, but I do, so. And when
Georgia's
I was a kid, I lived in Jersey, and Notre Dame was the team up there. So I even kind of like Notre
all
Dame.
of them. You're like, well, what is the team that you don't like? Worst team.
I hate the Gators.
Hate the Gators.
I can't even root for them when it's in my best interest to do it. And I know it's childish. I know it's immature. It's like, a woman is going to look at me and say, what's wrong with you, right? But I just can't. It's like a physical reaction. I cannot.
I need you to win for the end of the year. But
if the Gators winning would send me to the national title, I'd say I'm going to root for them, but if the other team scored, I'd be like, yeah.
You're like reluctantly there. Or it's like it's even
it.
impulse. You're like, yes, someone else is winning. Let's go.
It's weird, man. I can't like the game. I'm better with Miami than I am with Florida.
It's college sports. It's just how it is.
And that's what I love about it. It is passion. And, And they're trying to change the game, but it's passion. It's still passion.
It's such a passion thing. What is your favorite book or other resource?
Love the Bible. And I love like the Christian authors who are a little bit more of the older ones, like C.S. Lewis or Dallas Willard, not some of the more trendy stuff coming out, but more of those classics kind of. And because they're really deep. And sometimes I have to read them a few times to really grasp what they're saying, and I love that. I love growth. I've always loved learning and growing, and what's amazing to me, what's remarkable to me, is that we can talking about remarkable. See, I can't
unhear it now. You said remarkable.
I'm weaving it in. So, what's remarkable to me is that we get an opportunity every day to go into the day and learn and grow if we want to. And if you're a Christian, you can spend time in the morning in that Bible. I don't know why someone wouldn't want to do it. Like that's my best part of the day. Because those nuggets and the things to learn. And then a lot of times you'll go into your day and you experience the thing you just learned how to handle. It's stunning how that happens. And so to me, it's the best. It's just the best. Every day you can wake up and learn. No matter what happens to me, divorce or whatever the case may be, that, I can wake up every day and learn and grow and spend time with God and hang out with Him. And it's a good life.
It's consistent.
It's a really good life. So.
What is the most impactful piece of advice you've ever been given?
I think the hardest one for me to learn that I think would be the best thing for anyone to learn is to stay humble. Humility is pride is so easy to sneak up, especially if you're successful in anything. It's so easy to sneak up. People get all upset about, these stars like, what's her name? The biggest star in the world right now. What's her name? The
Zendaya.
No, man.
I know
she's on the Capital One commercials. What's her name? Come on.
Who is it?
You gotta know.
Taylor Swift. Oh my gosh.
People get upset about things she does or says or whatever. Listen, if everyone in the world was worshiping you, it would be hard to not
be prideful.
Do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
It would be almost impossible. Like I've got grace for those people because I understand it's hard,
You're almost being like driven to those
if they
things.
don't have a firm betting and scripture, of course the rails are going to go off sometimes. It's just there's no way for it not to.
Yeah.
It's no one's made to be a god.
Exactly.
And so, when and our society really is a idol worshiping society. And so if you're one of those idols that everyone's worshiping, and an influencer, it's hard to stay humble. But there's nothing better for growth than to stay humble because you're not learning anything if you know it all.
Yeah.
You're just not.
Well, you kind of just jumped the gun, but because that's, right there's a great mantra, but what is your what's something you always tell your staff, your family, or just people? What's your mantra?
So my newest one, the one that's been heavy on my heart for most of this year, came out of John. So God in my quiet time had me first start with the book of John. First he had me in Jeremiah, then Jeremiah, then Lamentations. Then he took me to John, and then while I was reading John 14 to 15, I came across this time where Jesus is talking about abiding in him and how he will manifest himself in us, and he'll send the Holy Spirit to manifest himself. And then if we'd obey him, he says, if you love me, you'll obey me. You know what I mean? And then he talks about loving others. And as I was reading it, I wrote off to the side, abide, obey, and love. And so those three things are what I wake up and try, and I remind myself in the morning, and I wake up and try. Abide in him, get into the flow, right? So that I'm kind of vibing with him. Obey whatever he tells me to do that day. If he doesn't give me any direction, then I just do what's in front of me, you know? But if he tells me to you know, a thought will pop into my head to text someone at something, and I'll encourage them, or I stop what I'm doing and I do whatever he tells me to do, and then so obey, and then just love others, man. Yeah, love is the heart of God, and it's the key to it all, and we've got it all messed up, and it's just a mess down here. We're a mess. We're a mess in this country, and it's a mess. But each one of us individually can love and love the other people and the love around us. And, maybe we don't get treated that same way from other people. Doesn't matter, man. We're not told to love only the people that love us. We're told to love everybody. And so I just try to work into the day, like letting Mary talk in the morning, my assistant, like I was talking about earlier. That's love. If I see her tearing up on something and I go over and I let her cry on my shoulder, that's love, right? There's just treating people that way, and just trying to be that way, and not worry about what you get in return, because I don't need anything. I've got such a blessed life, man. It blows me away, and so just stay humble and then abide, obey, and love. That's my mantra right now.
That's powerful. Such a really powerful message. Like,
one of my friends, Nick, says, you should write a book about that. I'm like, dude, I'm not supposed to do anything right now. I have to rest right now. I'm not going to write a book. I just have to rest.
This is my time to rest.
Right.
Let me rest.
Stop giving me ideas. I need that,
So just write it, put it in a shoebox, come back to it.
Abide, obey, and rest. That's my...
Awesome. Well, go ahead and...
Love others. I'm sorry.
Love
Abide,
others,
obey, and love others.
Go ahead and plug yourself. Give everyone your socials, your website, so if they want to contact you.
My socials. So
are you on social media?
I do, but I don't like market it.
That was the best response.
Well, you say socials, and I'm a banker, right? So I think social security number. I'm like, and the thought I go through is I'm not going to give anybody my social security number.
I'm on a bank's podcast. Why are you asking for my social?
So we can tell I'm old school, right? So my phone number is 770-908-1672. The Commercial Capital, if you want a pre-qualification or a pre-approval, you just give me a call. My email is bpeart@commercialcapitalltd.com. And that my podcast is thegreatawareness.net. And that's about it.
Well, awesome.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us. Seriously.
Right. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
It's hard to shake hands with
right,
this thing.
With this thing. Can we move now?